Good morning, friends. I did a meat order. I spent $189 and I am going to can 3/4 of it and get it put in the pantry to stock up my pantry. And a lot of it was on sale, so I grabbed it. Some of it wasn't, but that's all right. I needed it anyway. But I just called my local butcher. I just love that man. I called my local butcher and I put in my meat order and they delivered it to me. So I didn't have to go to the store. So anyway, I'm going to show you what I got. It's such a secure feeling that you can stock your pantry. Amidst all this, we can stock our pantry, and we've got a nice big garden. So, you know, we're going to have a nice amount in our pantries for our entire family. This over here is 20 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast, 2 10-pound bags. And those I'm going to can up for the pantry. And I'm doing a video. It'll be included in this video. And in there you'll see I've got 5 pounds of bacon, because we don't use a whole lot of bacon, but I like it for a little bit of fried potatoes or put a little bit in fried cabbage, just to accent some meals. And then I've got my husband's favorite is Larry's pork sausage, breakfast sausage, and it's right down there in that bag. And then that's a nice little pork roast. And then I've got 6 in there. On that side, I got 6 beautiful English roasts. I also am I'm slicing my onions up for my dehydrator. Now, I'm not going to blanch these. I'm just slicing them and I'm drying them just the way they are. And you can do that. Yeah, so many people tell you, oh, it's nice to blanch them. The only difference is when you blanch them, it doesn't take as long to dry them, because blanching them, there's that membrane in between them. You know, when you peel an onion, you get that membrane in between them. Well, when you blanch them, it dissolves that membrane. So that way they dry faster. But I don't have time for that right now. I got so much I got to do. So I'm just strictly slicing these up, and I'm going to put them right on my dehydrator and get them going. And yes, it'll take a little bit longer, but that's all right. So I'm going to get these sliced up. Some of these, the reason why they're cut like that, some of them had bad spots on them. And the whole onion isn't bad. It's just the few spots. So I took those spots off, and I'm dehydrating them for casseroles and soups and stews and what have you. I might even wind up saving some aside to put in my meat when I can my beef. So now I don't add them to the chicken. I just do the chicken plain. But anyway, that's what I'm doing here. Getting these all done. And it'll turn out nice. And this will work towards my winter supply of dehydrated onions. So I've got 20 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. And I do plan on canning all that. I might put 1 or 2 of them in the freezer, but pretty much I'm going to be canning all that. And then I've got, I can't tell you how many pounds of beef, but I'm going to do my chicken first, and I'm going to show you just an easy way to raw pack it. So, let me turn that down here. But I got these beautiful, great big huge chicken breasts, and I'm taking them right out of the bag. I'm just going to cut that. And a lot of times I'll cut off, you know, if there's a lot of fat on them, I'll cut it off. But for the most part, I just cut it in chunks and raw pack it. And I'll leave them right in. I'll leave like this piece right here. There's a little bit of fat on there. I'm leaving that right on there, putting that right in my jar, because it'll give it wonderful flavor. And if you push those down a little bit, you can push the air right out of them. Because I'm not going to add any water to this. I just fill the jars. Everything is sanitized, by the way, because I'm using my countertop too. And I sanitize or disinfected everything. So I'm just going to cut these up in chunks like this, just nice sized chunks. I want a good inch of head space, so That'll work. And this does work nice. Put that in there. Because I'm not putting any water in it, I want to push that down a little bit so it lets the air out. Now that piece, I'm not going to put that hunk in there. I'll set that over there in the sink. I think this piece is a little too big in there. Let's try this one. I think that'll work better. Put that one in there. There's a little piece of fat I'm going to put in there too. This really is easy, and this is wonderful. Now when you open this up, it's not going to be chunky like that. It's going to shred. So it's good for soups and stews and casseroles and chicken salad. It's just fantastic for that. I use a lot of it too for, not too much in that one, chicken and dumplings. Now there's a little extra, no, I guess that's all right. I can put that in there. See that? And then when you push that down, it'll really work at pushing that down because you don't want any air left in there if you can help it. Because when you leave air in there, now let's see here. If you get trapped in there, trapped air in this, it can harbor bacteria. That's why you have to debubble your jars. But when you're raw packing, you really can't debubble your jars. So you just push that meat down and it'll force that air out. And you'll be good to go. These are beautiful, huge breasts. I think I got too much in there. Right. I'll do these couple jars just to show you how I fill them. It's real easy. Just make sure everything is clean. Your jars are sanitized. My jars are not hot because my food obviously is cold. But that's what it's called, raw pack. But my jars are clean and sanitized. That's important. Okay, that looks pretty good. I don't have any air pockets in there. All right. I can put another little bit in that one. Okay, I'll get all the rest of my jars filled. Looks good. Okay, I'll get all the rest of my jars filled, and then I'll show you how I wipe them down, and we'll get them in the canner. I got my canner. It's got my water in it. I'm going to put a little splash of vinegar in there, and that'll work. That'll keep your jars from clogging up. If for some reason you forget that, it's no big deal. Just wash your jars in a little bit of vinegar in your water when you clean your jars, and that cloudiness will come off. Now, these are all filled. You can see very nicely. So we're just going to wipe the tops off. And you want to do that so that you get all the debris off there and the grease from the chicken, anything. Otherwise, it's not gonna seal very good. If it seals at all. All right. Now all I'm gonna do, finger tight, put it in my canner. Finger tight. You don't have to boil your lids and rings anymore. It's not recommended. I've got 8 of them in there. Well, sometimes when they're the smallmouth, you can get an extra one in there, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them in there. I'm going to take my other tray and I'm going to put that on the top. I'm going to double stack these, but don't double stack them unless you have another tray for your canner. And you can buy an extra tray if you don't have one. Just look online, they're online. Okay, so I have 3 extras, but those I'll just can with my beef when I run my other canner of beef, because that I'm doing next. You see that? I got water, and I've got a little vinegar in there. I'm going to put the lid on this, maybe, because this thing is a... My canner's old. I really do need a new canner. But, there we go. Now you know the drill. You turn this on, you let this vent right here. You let it spew a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. That gets all the air out of your canner so that you can assure your canner will reach the proper temperature to preserve your food. Okay, so we're going to turn that on high. That's the drill. I'm going to let it vent, and then once it's vented for 10 minutes, I'm going to put the jiggler on. My altitude, 10 pounds of pressure. I'm going to let this go for 75 minutes, and then I'll show you how they look. Okay, friends, look at all the beef we got. We got all the jars back there. And all we do is cold pack it or raw pack it just like we do the chicken. So this is my mom here, and she is just cutting it up in chunks and filling the jars. And it's just the same way as the chicken. You just push it down in the jar and it expels some of the air and you're good to go. Wipe your rims, put your lid on. You don't have to add any salt. That's for flavor. If you want, you can. But you just wipe the rims down with some vinegar and put your lids on and process pints for 75 minutes. She's measuring for 1-inch headspace. Turns out good. And then here, this is done. I just turned this off, so it's got to cool down, and we got 16 jars of chicken in there, and you'll see that. So again with this, you do it just the same way I showed you how to do the chicken. And it's wonderful. Absolutely a wonderful addition to your pantry. And it lasts a lot longer than putting it in the freezer. Oh, look friends, I think my onions are all done. They look like they're good and dry. See that? Turns out beautiful, yeah, every one of them. They're nice and dry. Perfect. I'm just going to leave them on here to cool off. They look wonderful. Let that cool down a little bit, and then I will put those in my jar. I wanted to show you, those of you, these are how I buy my goods. Let me put this up a little bit. How I buy my candy lids. I buy them in bulk. They're not stamped or nothing. I buy them from my Mennonite store down the road. And one of these great big sleeves, I mean, you can't beat it. There's 348 regular size lids in here, and it's $53 I spent for it. It's a really good deal. I think it winds up being maybe, oh, you know, I'm not even going to add it up today. It's probably maybe 10 cents a lid, 10 to 14 cents a lid, 10 to 15 cents. And then I got a sleeve of wide lids, because I buy them like this. Because when you go to the store, if you're just going to can a little bit or you're not much of a canner, you know, it's not so bad to buy a box at the store, a box of lids. But like at my hardware where I can get them down here, they're like $2.79 a box. So when I buy it this way, I would go through a lot of money because obviously I can hundreds of quarts of food every year for my entire family. And I can all throughout the year. It's not just one time at harvest time I can all throughout the year. And I do a whole lot of canning, so I always buy these sleeves like this. So for me, that's a good deal. So if you got any Amish stores in your area, check them out because you might be able to buy those sleeves. And I don't know if you could get them like this online or not. I've never looked online. I've always gotten mine through my little Mennonite store at the end of my road here. So anyway, that's all done. I'm glad these are done. Yesterday I got onions yesterday. I told you about it. And they weren't bad, but it's like they got froze. And you know when stuff gets froze, like onions, if they freeze, they get mushy. So there was some of the onions that were mushy. Well, I just cut that off. I'm not going to throw away that whole onion. It wasn't rotten. It was just, I think it was froze. So I dehydrated the rest of it. Perfect. Perfect. Perfect to add to the pantry. These are all cooled down. I'm going to put these all away. I think it turned out so nice. This is perfect for the pantry in the winter. They do dry beautifully. You don't have to blanch them. You don't have to. It's not required. It just, the only reason why people will blanch them is so that they dehydrate quicker. Look at all that. Isn't that nice? Beautiful. I'm going to just break it up a little bit. It smells wonderful. Fill my jar up and we'll be good to go. And look at here, friends. Look at how beautiful that turned out. Look at that juice. I raw packed it and look at all that juice. Isn't that gorgeous? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's going to be delicious. So we're going to set those over there. Yep. It's not the prettiest in the jar, but it's delicious. And it's a pretty addition to your pantry.